So today what we're going to do is homemade watercress soup. So it's a combination, it's a very rich, delicious, peppery, creamy soup. It's going to be a pureed soup, basic ingredients. And so I hope you enjoy and feel free to comment, ask any questions, and hopefully you'll like my video. Thanks guys, bye. Okay guys, so today we're going to be making watercress soup, all from fresh local ingredients. So I'm just going to give you a rundown of the ingredients that you'll need. You'll just need salt and pepper to taste. You're going to need roughly 1 pound of chopped potatoes. Then of course your beautiful watercress. And watercress can usually get in your market, usually in the herb section. If you don't see it, you can't recognize it right away, just ask somebody in the produce section. They should be able to help you. For those of you not familiar with watercress, it has quite a strong flavor, but a delicious one. It's a very peppery taste. So you can use watercress in salads, soups. It's great on a sandwich for that extra crunch, and it has a lovely peppery taste. So feel free if you're trying watercress for the first time, just grab a leaf and eat it. You'll find that it's a little bit bland at first, but then you get the pepper and it's just lovely. So we have our watercress, and that's going to be roughly 6 cups of chopped watercress. Now I haven't chopped it yet, but and you want to include the stems. So the stems have a lot of flavor. So you want fine, not heavy stems. So the only thing you need to discard with watercress is thick stems. If you have any really thick stems, you're going to get rid of those because those tend to be a little tough. And also if you have any of those stringy roots from your watercress, especially if you get it very fresh, you're going to want to discard those roots just because they don't have a very nice flavor. Again, I'm in Panama, so watercress grows in fields abundantly here. So we get this really fresh, straight from, just came off the fields. Potatoes are not that abundant here. You can get them, but they tend to be small. So when you're looking at how much potato you need, depending on the size of your potato, it's going to be about 1 pound. That's approximately, if you have really small potatoes like we have here in Panama, you're going to probably use about maybe 7 small potatoes. If you have larger ones, just adjust, but roughly 1 pound of potato. Again, your watercress, and then just roughly chopped onion. Your roughly chopped onion is going to equal approximately 2 cups, and that's usually 1 large white onion. And then we're just going to use some chicken broth. Now, when you're doing your base for your soup, you have a choice. You can either do chicken broth, which is what I prefer to use. You can use white wine, or you can use veggie stock. I prefer chicken broth. Now, with that said, if you're going to use a white wine, make sure, some people just cook with any wine. My rule of thumb, if you're going to cook with wine, taste it. If it's drinkable, cook with it. If you wouldn't drink a glass of it, why cook with it? The taste is not going to be any better, okay? But for me, it's chicken stock. And then the recipe calls that I use is calling for sour cream, approximately 6 tablespoons, and you have 2 choices. You can either mix that into the soup at the end just before serving, or you can just dollop a little bit of it right in the middle of the bowl as you serve. I prefer to mix it all in, and I also prefer to use some cooking cream as well. That would be your typical like heavy cream. It's called different things in different places. Here in Panama, it's called cooking cream, but I use heavy cream, cooking cream, and then sour cream. And I usually just mix the 2. It's just going to add a richness and a nice flavor at the end. Okay? And then finally, when you're serving it, it always looks nice to have a little bit of fresh parsley, just finely chopped to garnish the top. Okay guys, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to melt approximately 2 to 3 tablespoons of butter or margarine. A lot of people prefer butter. You can use margarine as a substitute if you don't have butter on hand. Okay, So we're going to saute onions at about a medium heat, just until they're translucent. So these are the onions that we chopped earlier. And we're doing about 2 cups of onion. And again, just until they're translucent, you're going to saute those just for a couple of minutes. Okay, just give them a little stir, just until they're translucent. You're just going to add some seasoning, so just some salt. I'd say about half a teaspoon of salt. It's just basically to your taste. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to add 1 cup of chicken stock, or as I mentioned earlier, you can use wine, you can use veggie stock, and then approximately 6 cups of water, okay? So I've already pre-measured this out. As you can see, I don't use fancy tools or anything, it's just what you have at home. So once you have your broth and your water in there, next you're going to add your potatoes. And again, it's about 1 pound of potatoes, okay? So once you have your potatoes in there, just going to give that a stir. I'm going to turn up my flame a little bit, bring this to a bit of a boil. Once it comes to a bit of a boil, what you're going to do is you're going to reduce it. So turn the heat down to low and just let it lightly simmer for approximately 30 minutes. All right, so you can see we have this with our potatoes, our onions, our chicken broth, and our water is coming up to a nice boil. So at this point, it's that simple. All you do is you turn down your heat, lower your heat, then you're going to cover it, and you're going to let that sit and simmer for about 30 minutes. Okay, so we'll be back in 30 minutes. Okay guys, so you can see this has been simmering and it's reduced a little bit. So this has been simmering for about 30 minutes. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and add our watercress. Now this is our chopped watercress from earlier. Remember, use all of the stems as long as they're not too thick. Get rid of the roots, get rid of any thick stems. Everything else you can use. So you're going to put that right in there. That's approximately 6 cups of chopped watercress. So once that's in there, you're going to go ahead. It doesn't look like much right now, but I promise it's going to be delicious. So now what you're going to do is you're going to mix that all in. Turn your heat up a little bit. Mix all that lovely watercress in really good. Remember, doesn't matter what it looks like now because it's going to be pureed. But you can see that lovely fresh watercress with all those thin stems, your potatoes, your onion. Just beautiful meld of flavors, and it's amazing how much flavor that lovely watercress adds. So now what you're going to do, once you've stirred and incorporated that all in really nicely, you're going to just turn your heat up a little bit and let that boil a little bit for about 2 minutes or so. Once that's done and it's boiled for about 2 minutes, then we're going to simply puree it, add the finishing touches, and that's it. So we'll be back in just a couple of minutes. So at this point, you're going to see it's coming to a nice boil. That watercress has really started to reduce. So now we have this lovely boiling soup. I wish you could smell it. Hopefully when you make it, you'll smell just that rich, peppery, lovely oniony scent. Okay, so once that's done, what you're going to do is you're going to remove it from the heat. Okay, so you're going to take it, turn your heat off. You're going to remove that from your heat. Okay. Okay, once it's removed from your heat, you're going to let it sit. Make sure you put it on something. Be very careful. It's going to be very hot. Now, the next step we're going to do is we're going to be pureeing this. Now, a couple things to remember. When you're pureeing something hot, you don't want to do it in too large of a batch. Like, you don't want to fill your blender right to the top, okay? You're going to want to only fill it about half full, so you're going to want to do this in batches. The reason being because when it's hot, it can splash up and it can be quite dangerous. So it might be a little bit inconvenient to have to do it in batches, but it's just much, much better that way and much safer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just spoon as much as I can, about half of my blender. quite enough. Now we're going to remove this. We're going to again do it in batches. So you're just going to pour this into another pot, another container, whatever you have on hand. And again, you're going to do this in batches. Okay? All right. So now we have all of our soup blended. You can see this lovely creamy consistency and the lovely vibrant green color. So it's all pureed. And now what we're going to do is, this is that mixture of sour cream and heavy cream that I said I used earlier. You can use just sour cream, but I always like the consistency and the flavor of a little bit of heavy cream mixed in with the sour cream. So what you're going to do, and again, you have two choices. You're going to either mix this all in together in the pot, or you're just going to dollop it on your bowls as you serve them, or both. So it's about 6 tablespoons roughly that you're going to put into the soup. And right now I just have the heat on low just to keep it nice and warm. So again, approximately 6 tablespoons, a little bit more, a little bit less, doesn't really matter. Okay, so there's that. Now we're going to mix that all in nicely. We're also going to add our pepper at this point. You're going to do about a teaspoon of pepper, a little bit more if you like it a little more peppery, but approximately a teaspoon. You're going to dump that in there. Then you're going to give this all a nice stir. And you can see it's just adding that nice creamy flavor and texture. So you're just going to keep stirring it until it's all that sour cream is nice and well blended. Oh, it smells delicious. Remember, I said, major rule of thumb, always taste what you're cooking. So now, I'm just going to give it a wee taste. I'm going to see, do I need more salt? Do I need more pepper? Do I want to add a little more cream? Whatever, it's to your taste. Absolutely delicious. I am going to add a wee bit more salt. Just needs a little bit of salt. And a wee bit more pepper. See, it's coming to a bit of a boil again now. And that is the beautiful watercress soup. So I'm going to just ladle some into my bowl. Once I have it ladled into my bowl, I'm going to go ahead and add a wee dollop of that cream just in the center. You can just spoon it just a wee bit on top in the center. Then I always like to take just a little bit of fresh chopped parsley, just for a wee bit of garnish. And there you have it, watercress soup. Absolutely delicious. Hope you've enjoyed. Please feel free to like, comment, or ask any questions. See you next time.